You are listening to An Environment for Change, an 8-part series looking at some of the many people in the Mount Alexander Shire who are working to combat climate change and promote sustainable living. These are local people who are working towards changing our habits so we can all move forward into a vibrant, healthy and sustainable future. In this series, we'll hear from local farmers, Boomerang Bags, Repair Cafe, local environment groups, activists and concerned citizens. You can hear it at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings on Main FM 94.9 or listen anytime by jumping online to the Main FM SoundCloud page. This series was made possible by a community grant from the Mount Alexander Shire Council. Environment. Change. In this first episode of An Environment for Change, I got together with two women, Mel and Rachel, and we discuss taking on the challenge of Plastic-Free July. I want to apologise for the quality of the sound up front. There was one of the microphones buzzes occasionally and it sounds a little tinny, but I'm hoping that you can hear us clearly and will enjoy the episode. We are endeavouring to do Plastic-Free July, and there is a movement called Plastic-Free July which started in Western Australia in 2011. And apparently these days it's grown to include millions of people across the world from 150 different countries. So Plastic-Free July is a thing now.
And it started in Australia?
It started in Western Australia. Yeah.
Cool.
So you can join up on their website, which is plasticfreejuly.org, but you don't have to, obviously, you could just do it. And when you register, they ask you a couple of different questions. Did either of you register?
Not yet. No.
That'll be next. Well, it's interesting because I think people kind of freak out a bit about the commitment to plastic-free. Yeah. What they offer is 3 different levels. Like you could avoid using single-use plastic packaging. So you only get stuff that's not wrapped in plastic and you don't accept plastic bags, I guess, at the supermarket. That's one level.
And no coffee cups.
Yeah, well, the next level is target takeaway items. So bags, bottles, straws and coffee cups.
Yeah.
So maybe bags isn't included in plastic packaging.
Which seems weird to me. But...
Yeah, but it's more like you won't... I mean, I feel like the plastic packaging is one of the hardest things because you buy something. I don't know, I got a piece of technology recently and every single part of that technology in the box was wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
And the filler was this weird sort of plasticky styrofoam stuff that was all through it. And I'm like, how do I get that technology without the packaging? You don't. I guess you can get it secondhand, but then someone else has got it. I don't know. And then the third option is to go completely plastic free. And I feel like that's very challenging.
That's what I thought we were signing up for.
Yeah, so what does that entail?
So they don't go into detail, but for example, yesterday I was at the shops and I wanted to get some sesame oil. And the sesame oil's got a glass bottle, which is great, but it's got a plastic lid. So can I never buy sesame oil again? Or do I have to get one with a little metal pull top lid or something?
But you can bulk buy.
Yeah. But you can't bulk buy everything. Like not here locally in Castlemaine. You can get a lot from Gringos and the health food store. Can you get sesame oil from them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Toasted and not toasted.
Oh, wow. You know all the options. Yeah, cool. All right, so let's introduce ourselves. My name's Ali, and I feel like so far in my life I never use straws. I have a reusable drink bottle, so I never buy drink bottles. I don't drink coffee, so I don't get takeaway cups. I've already adopted canvas bags, so I, as much as possible, unless I'm really caught out, don't take plastic bags from the supermarket. So I feel like there's a lot of ways that I'm already kind of doing a lot of the stuff. But there's going to be stuff that's going to challenge me for sure. And I think a lot of it's like I was looking at tissues because I've just had a cold. And I was like, every box of tissues has got that tiny little bit of plastic on either side of where you pull the tissue out.
Yeah.
How do you avoid that? I don't know. Do I use toilet paper from now on? Maybe.
Go back to hankies.
Yeah, hankies. You know,
they're so good and they're so gross.
I love them. Yeah, they're gross.
But they're so good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Mel, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Mel. Hello. I think I'm generally pretty good with the not plastic lifestyle. I think a lot because I grow a lot of my own food and I don't have a fridge, which kind of cuts out lots of stuff. But I think, yeah, as I was thinking about doing this challenge, it's all coming out. The main thing, I was like, oh, I can't buy cask wine. Because that's like my economical bulk wine buy.
You'll have to get like clean skins.
Aldi wine.
Clean skins.
But they've got a plastic
Oh, they've got the plastic
lid.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking, and I was like, well, maybe that'll just be my like.
Oh, so because the screw top lids, they're plastic, they're not metal.
Well, they're tin, but I was looking on
Are they
this.
coated in plastic?
I was, actually, well, maybe I get
They'll
away
have
with
a
it.
bit inside, a bit of rubber or plastic
Ah,
inside.
yeah, that's true. For some reason I was thinking the lid was. But I was like, I'm kind of alright with maybe doing that, buying bottles instead of. But then it's that interesting thing because I don't want to buy endless bottles because we don't have any recycling. So so I reuse bottles for my water and for oil and all these other things. But it's like far out how many candle holders, how many. So I don't want to give up wine.
Can you
I'm not
cut
prepared
it?
to do that.
Can you cut a deal with someone who does have recycling? Because you live out in the bush, like out past the zone where you get those services. Could you arrange with someone, like you could come here once a month and drop your bottles in my bin?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Like that's a cheer offer, it's not
But no, actually in Australia we don't have any recycling anymore. That's what I meant. Like we used to send it
in
to China.
general.
Yeah, we used to send it to China.
Yeah.
Now they're not taking it, so now there's no recycling.
It's a big Australia-wide issue.
Yeah, it's kind of
That's true.
a bigger thing. But I mean, also if I buy cask wine, then that's also just going into landfill, and that's just plastic. So I think that was, ashamedly, maybe that was my biggest thing. And like, because it's winter, which means that I can have stuff I can just put it outside for the fridge. I was like, cheese. And I was thinking about cheese, and I was like, I get it from the grocery store in town or Gringos or, that I get cheese, but wherever I get it, it's either wrapped in a plastic bag or on a styro wrapped up in plastic.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I won't have cheese.
Yeah, well, I wonder if they could, because I often think about why can't I just rock up with my own container and not the things that Gringos have, but other shops and say, like, I'm going to the deli and I want my meat. Well, can you just stick it in my container or whatever? Like,
yeah, that's
I
true.
wonder if they could do that.
Because then they're not unwrapping what they've already wrapped. They're just giving you a... Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I was perplexed about butter because I was like, I don't know how I'll live without butter. But then at the supermarket, I found last night, because I was already starting to go, oh my God, what am I going to do? The black and gold butter is wrapped in paper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Of course it is.
Great.
Yeah.
But as a vegetarian who does it for animal cruelty reasons largely, I'm like, black and gold butter.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's not like I get organic cruelty-free butter every time anyway. But black and gold, I kind of feel like they're probably not going to be happy cows. And it's cheap and it's plastic-free. So there's an ethical conundrum for me there. Like, which way am I going? Like, it's great to be plastic-free, but what about cows?
Yeah.
And I do toy with veganism anyway. But
Maybe a month, Ellie.
Yeah.
Do the double shot.
Not together.
Yeah.
Not
They
at
go
once.
hand in hand.
Well, they might. If we can't get our cheese or our butter, we might be forced to go vegan for a month. But there is a 1 month vegan challenge, which I have considered before. And the other thing that I realised I was doing in the lead up to this is going, oh no, my favourite veggie burgers, they're wrapped in plastic. I'll just stock up now at the start of the month. And I'm like, I can't stock up at the start of the month. I'm not going to let myself do that.
Are you allowed to use stuff that's already in your fridge? I mean,
I reckon you can use what's already in your fridge. But
But
it's
if
like,
you're stocking up,
I'm like, I can't enter
Stretching it
the
a
month.
bit far.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I made myself not do that. Anyway, Rachel, how about you?
yeah. Hi, I'm Rachel. I, pretty conscious where I can be, but there's the occasional, get to the supermarket, damn, I forgot the bags, or I'm caught out and I grab bags and I justify it by saying that's a bin liner. But
Yes.
I don't want to do that anymore. So yeah, I want to really commit to having the canvas bags all the time with me, being more onto that. In the past I've done a lot of bulk foods and taking my own containers, but I haven't been doing that so much lately. And probably one of the main things is just getting busy with life and work and, you know, small kids and just getting caught out, you know, not prepared enough because I'm time poor or whatever.
I was going to say, it takes so much time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really wanted to jump on this because it's something that's really important to me to introduce as a way of, so my children just don't grow up with this consciousness of like, oh, we just buy stuff and throw the packaging in the bin. I want them to have a really good understanding of, I mean, they already do, you know, they're like, why is all this packaging? But I actually want to be walking the talk. So I can tell them that it's not a great thing to do environmentally, but what are we doing in our house? So I want to, you know, I think probably for a start, I will do maybe the second level of the challenge. And then, you know, from there, we'll just have more conversations and we'll start to look at, you know, what are the things that we really love having around, like the wine or the butter or, you know, for me, it was like yogurt. I mean, I've tried making coconut yogurt and I haven't been successful. So I'm like, I have to keep buying this coconut yogurt. So, you know, it's like, okay, this month I'm not going to, you know, become a master chef at making my coconut yogurt, but that's, you know, stuff down the track that we'll hopefully introduce. So yeah, I've stopped drinking coffee now. I don't have the takeaway coffee cup issue, and I've, you know, in the past used the keep cups, the keep cup ones. Although I was reading some article the other day about a cafe in Melbourne that weren't accepting keep cups anymore because of the potential infection from bacteria, and I was just like, what? How much fear do we want to?
I think that's always been a problem, and
well,
I saw an article also, people bringing reusable bags to the supermarket that have got like mouse droppings in them and stuff, and
it's possible.
The cashiers are like, we can't use these, you know, and then I don't know, just those complications. But I think those issues have always been there for any reusable stuff, but people are still doing it. Like it's still possible to introduce it and have it.
Well, and it's just that whole bloody, it's a whole nother tangent, but that whole mind frame of, you know, you can't be I can't trust you to be responsible for your own thing, because if something goes wrong, then I need to protect myself because you're going to sue me. That's all it's about.
That's true.
That's all it's about.
Yeah, and how much do we baby our citizens and how much do we let them just grow up and learn that mouse poo ain't good for you?
I haven't died yet.
And one thing that I will say is that, I mean, we're all kind of like perplexed about how we're going to achieve a month without plastic. But 100 years ago, no one had plastic. Like, how have we in 100 years moved from not knowing what this substance was to being so dependent on it? And it's so infused in our lives that we don't know how to actually navigate our world without somehow accidentally or purposefully buying it.
How are we going to live in 100 years if we don't do something about it right now?
Yeah, that's
because
right.
we'll be drowning in it and the ocean will be,
It's quite sad.
Well, they do talk about how there's more bits of plastic in the sea, and that probably includes tiny bits of broken up plastic than there are fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's an actual statistic.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised at that. I don't know if they're including microfibers, you know? Like, there are more bits of plastic in our ocean than stars in the sky, if it includes microfibers.
It's so easy to sit here and talk about it, and we've got to go and do it. But, like, you know, I think it's quite easy for us to get complacent when we get busy, because it just, you know, priorities change and you get tired and like all of this kind of stuff, and it's this convenience just for in general, not just plastic, but you know, maybe lots of other things as well. And I kind of feel like I'm looking forward to being more aware of how I'm choosing when I'm in those moments of I can't be bothered, you know.
The danger moments.
And it's kind of good to get a bit of a kick up the butt. Like, I think that's kind of why I did it, was so I think about, because I think about lots of other things, I'm sure we all do. Yeah. But yeah, it would be good to think about that. And, you know, how you were talking about 100 years ago. Well, 100 years, sorry, this is obviously my personal rant. But, you know, 100 years ago, food system was completely different. Yeah. So I think everything was a lot more localised. And by that I mean actually literally localized. So you could go get your milk from the corner store in the glass bottles, and you'd return the glass bottles when you were finished.
Or the milkman would come around.
Yeah, that's
with
how
a
I
cart.
grew up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's only 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Not even 100. So, you know, you would have been able to get your butter wrapped up in paper. And,
waxed paper.
yeah, you know, you would have had a little village garden where, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I also
those big
pro more of that,
local,
bringing that back.
Yeah, localizing the food systems. And I do think also that plastic in a lot of ways was like in the, like, was it the 50s when things started coming out? And I guess it just was like this great convenience, and it made things more hygienic, and it made things safer, and it made things cheaper too, which was good for the common person. You know, it was a benefit to have these plastic things. It made the world more democratic because everyone could save more money and not be as strapped for the stuff, you know. And so now we live in a world where we can all have these things that were once unimaginable luxuries to the common person. But the price of that has been the planet, you know. And so what I've noticed walking around the supermarket is also like, okay, so I can get, say, tomato sauce in a glass jar or a plastic bottle. The plastic one's going to be the cheaper option. And as someone with limited financial resources, it's not fair to expect everyone to suddenly step up financially to get the expensive stuff that's plastic free. And, you know, like...
Yeah.
I feel like there's a thing there in terms of fairness of it.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And the other thing is, like, you know, sometimes I'm in the same dilemma, and it's like, well, if I get the glass jar, what's going to even happen to that glass jar? Yeah, I'll take it home and I'll probably make preserves in it, and then I'll do that the year after and the year after. But the ones that don't go in, they go into the recycling, and then where do they end up? Like, we need options for being able to take that glass jar back and reuse it, you know, to fill it up with that tomato sauce again, or, you know, like, it's just not... thing. And how do we start to bring, you know, the awareness to it that it needs to, so that can happen. I mean, it can happen in your local, you know, Whole Foods store, but not with a lot of things.
No.
So there's only so much you can do that with.
Well, and then it's also that thing as well of the true cost of things. So we're not actually paying the true cost for packaging, for transportation, for, you know, actually how it's made, where it comes from. So often, you know, jars from Italy are cheaper than, you know, Australian made something.
So the planet and other communities are paying for it.
Yeah, that whole thing goes into it too. And I've been thinking, I was kind of reflecting on it yesterday and today as well. It's like, wow, I almost feel a little bit guilty that this is a bit of a challenge because...
First world problem.
Relatively, I'm really lucky. Like, I'm so, well, and this isn't about being lucky or not, but, you know, I was like, oh, this is a challenge for me. Whereas, you know, sisters on the other side of the world, you know, are going through totally different things. But I think the true cost of stuff isn't seen. So, you know, I've got friends, Ali, as well, who, you know, totally believe in all of this stuff, but they can't. They just buy the cheapest thing that they can for that week to get by.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's no judgment there because it's like, man, you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah, that's right.
And at least you're eating.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. And I feel like that's where, like, we can challenge ourselves to do as best we can. And what I want to do at the end of the month is check in with you guys again and see how well we did and what surprised us, like what caught us, like we opened something and we were like, oh, damn, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff where we actually succeeded, but it was bloody hard work. We had to really think our way through, you know, how to solve that problem. I want to ask you guys also at the end of the month, like what you really think you've now got in place that you'll just keep doing and what probably might slide.
I know what I need. I need a friend who can give me a barrel of wine.
Hey!
Yeah.
That would be a good. And then you can turn them into chairs and little coffee tables, the barrels.
Yes.
You can get those mini keg barrels.
Maybe we could get a sponsor.
Yeah.
Well, we could get Gringos to bring wine in.
Hey, I wonder if they would.
Barrels of wine. Oh, they
You should talk to Boomtown and get them to get those little, like, you know, I don't know, 10-litre size barrels.
Actually, I wonder if they would. Well, because when I was in Spain, like, long time ago, 8-9 years ago, I was staying in a little barrio, and yeah, there was a little place just across from the street, and you'd go up there and you'd take your own container and you'd fill up on wine from their bottle, their
massive wooden.
What's it called? Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Actually, yeah.
Get Boomtown onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good thing. Like, Castlemaine is, I think we're pretty lucky in Castlemaine.
That could
Instigate.
That's actually kind of exciting. That could potentially be something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool.
I do feel like we're lucky in this community because there's so many small businesses that are doing really cool, like it's kind of boutique, cool stuff. Like we've got multiple winemakers and bread makers and coffee makers really locally. So I think compared to a lot of places in Australia, we are really abundant in options.
Yeah.
In Castlemaine in Central Victoria. But I think it's still going to be a challenge to solve all these problems. I would love to know by the end of the month, Mel, whether you've got those guys to do that.
Well, I reckon, because I guess, you know, I also run a small business, so I understand that the reason why sometimes it seems more expensive is because you have to pay for the true cost of things. That's why I guess I understand that. And so, yeah, if you took away the labour, because I've worked for them on bottling days and it's really big, long, hard day, and then they've got to put the labels on if they don't have the labelling machine, and, you know, then they've got to pack it, and they've, you know, so potentially that could cut down percentage of the cost.
Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, because and then they don't have to do anything, you just go there.
Yep.
And then you buy it and then you leave, so they don't have to do anything.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, obviously they have to make the wine.
And then those bottles that you've bought from the supermarket with the screw top lids, they're reusable.
Yes.
For that reason, not just as candle holders. Although they do make beautiful candle holders.
Yeah, I can only have so many though.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah,
Great.
That's a great idea.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think in a month we'll check in. We'll see where we're at, how well we did.
Yeah.
What are we basing our how well on?
Well, just maybe just keep a mental tally of the things that really caught you by surprise, that maybe, or the things that you were really happy that was easier than you thought it would be, and stuff that you were just like, oh damn, oh damn, again.
Yeah, because I've been thinking even labels on jars have plastic on them.
Yeah.
They
And
So
like
I don't know.
tins. Like I was looking at dog and cat food is another thing that I'm going to really struggle with.
I bought one yesterday, a big one.
Yeah.
All the bags.
Yeah. But I
Because
already use them as bins, but then I'm like, but that's still one-use plastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I can make my dog vegetarian, and because that is possible, and I've thought about that a lot. I can just get tinned food for both of them, but tins are lined in plastic, but they're recyclable. And I guess the other question is like, do we include is plastic that can be recycled acceptable or not? You know, like I bought my drink bottle is a plastic drink bottle, but I'm potentially going to use that for 5 years, and I'm assuming that kind of plastic is recyclable because it's that.
But we don't have any recycling anymore.
I know, but in 5 years we will.
Okay, that's good.
So that's got to last you 5 years.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them. Yeah. Or I could get a metal one next time, you know. Yeah, I guess those parameters are what we're going to set for ourselves. How reasonable or hard it is. Because there are, and maybe just keep a tally of the things that you're like, oh yeah, I bought glass jars, but every time there was a plastic label on it. So, you know, you did do better than buying a plastic jar, but, you know, that's just something to think about.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, like, just those questions of, okay, so will I never have my favourite veggie burgers again?
Oh yeah.
You know, like,
Good question, Alex.
maybe I never will. And I don't want to spend time making my own veggie burgers, but then maybe I just won't eat veggie burgers.
You know? Make your own.
Or make a bunch and then freeze them.
Yep.
You know, that sort of thing. But I don't know. It would make me sad to never have those veggie burgers again. But that's the first world problem. Like, I have ample food to eat.
Yeah.
And I avoid, like, even though I like the taste of meat, I don't eat meat for ethical reasons. So this could be a similar ethical choice. I don't know. Anyway, that's stuff to think about at the end of the month when we talk about how hard it was. And how tired of it we are.
Yeah.
And how much we're really looking.
That's what it's about. It's like, how comfortable are we making these choices and knowing that we're going to not be able to have things that have made us feel comfortable or feel okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also wonder that there's the part of me that's kind of, that, what do you call it when you sustain from something as a kind of like a political thing? If you get enough people to not buy one thing, then...
I like boycott.
Boycotting, that's the word. Yeah. I was just like, so if we got everyone to boycott plastic to a certain degree or a certain level, I was like, I wonder, the ripples.
Well, I feel like a lot of manufacturers, the fact that our supermarkets and our state governments are now enforcing like single-use plastic bags to be eliminated, these are big steps that are to being taken at a level that, like, Lucy Young's been working at Plastic Bag Free Castlemaine for, months, and she's talked to all the shops and asked them all to, come on board, and a lot have. But there are a few who are holding out. And they've been holding out until they've been forced to, and now they're being forced to, so now they're going to do it. And I think it takes those, like, the IGA stores are making that happen at a big level. Like, the national organisation is making that happen, and the state governments are taking on plastic bag free stuff.
Cool.
So those that level of action is really important to reinforce what people are trying to do on the ground level too. But the more and more people are getting really aware because of David Attenborough, I think, of the evils of plastic.
Oh, is he
on the Blue Planet 2? Is a major part of that.
Cool.
Yeah, doco. And I think it's. Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I've seen people responding to it, And I think businesses, especially small businesses, it will take, well, even big businesses, I guess, every business, it's going to take a while to figure out how to replace plastic. And so they might be thinking about it now and trying to, because they know people don't want to use plastic anymore.
Well, I think, people forget the power of people, and, we forget that I don't know, this is how I feel inspired to do some things that I keep doing, even though it feels like you're banging your head against a wall. We as people forget that we actually have power as people, and we have the choice.
And I guess that's what this month is about, isn't it? It's about us as consumers learning how to really commit to making that choice. Not just going, I'll do... Like, I've eased into canvas bags instead of disposable bags. I've eased into, other elements of, like, I bought some of those wax wraps instead of Glad wrap. I don't use Glad wrap anyway. I'll often put a plate on top of a bowl instead of Glad wrap, when I'm putting it in the fridge of leftovers. Sort of eased into all of those things, but there's heaps of stuff. This month is going to really challenge me for real to actually really look at what I do instead of taking for granted the little bits and pieces that I let slide through.
No, me too, for sure. Yeah.
So, but this is, I guess that's what this month is about, is activating people to make those consumer choices.
Yeah. Definitely. Being like other people going, what are you doing? And starting a conversation with someone who thinks about it or might, but then they actually see someone doing it. And
And show those honey producers. I was thinking about my honey because I've got one of those squeeze honeys at the moment. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to buy honey in a glass jar. And the manufacturers who make them, if they start seeing everyone buying the glass jar instead of the squeeze bottle, they'll discontinue the squeeze bottle.
Yeah.
The
people power.
That's it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, totally. Because sometimes we think, we forget that we have that power because they give us things because we buy them.
Yeah.
And we keep buying them.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, if we choose not to, then they're not going to make any money. They just want to make money. They don't really care.
Yeah.
So
it's true. It's why Vegemite craft singles didn't last very long because no one bought them.
What are they?
The craft singles cheesy wrapped in plastic bits of cheese, plastic cheese.
Really?
They made
They're
Vegemite
gone now,
flavoured
are they?
ones.
Oh, the Vegemite.
Yeah, they make Vegemite.
Do they still do individually wrapped plastic?
I think
cheese?
they totally do.
know.
Yeah. The cheese is as plasticky as the plastic wrapping the
Yeah.
cheese. So, but,
Wow.
yeah. But those sort of things, again, that's cheap food. And a lot of people, especially families, on a tight budget with kids who just want afternoon tea, and a cheap piece of bread with a cheap piece of cheese under the griller is a good afternoon snack. And like I was thinking about bread actually, because I really love my sourdough bread, but it's much more expensive than a loaf wrapped in plastic. And people who, I guess Baker's Delight or other places like that, like you could ask them to put it in your own bag or in a paper bag instead of a plastic bag. But the supermarket breads, you wouldn't be able to buy that anymore, like the pre-sliced ones. So, there's a lot of things like that I think a lot of people might really want to take on plastic free, but financially it's just not actually going to be
Unless
easy.
you've got the stay-at-home,
Yeah.
presence, whoever that is, the man or the woman or the someone who's doing all those things around the
Stay-at-home
house.
spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or committing that time in your week to, work a bit less and put the time into making the bread and,
Which saves you money because
growing the vegetables. Yeah, of course.
Well, 100 years ago when we talk about pre-plastic days, that pretty much was the case.
Yeah.
You'd have like the man earning the income and the woman staying at home baking the bread and growing the carrots and stuff like that.
Making the cheese, making the yogurt.
Yeah.
I've spoken to my mum about it, and so she grew up on a farm in Western Victoria, and her mum, she said, only bought very few things. There was sugar.
Yep.
I think she bought flour, tea. There was, maybe half a dozen items she went and bought, and everything else they produced, they were pretty much...
And tea you'd buy in a tin anyway.
Yeah, it would have been probably no plastic back then.
Yeah.
And, the health of that generation is probably pretty optimal when you think how things were produced back then.
Well, it's interesting because I think we do have a very long longevity. We have a long longevity now.
Yeah.
Like we're all living much longer, but it's not necessarily because we're eating better or living better. We're not as fit or as healthy, but the medical system is able to keep us alive longer because of medical advances. We can live for much longer in a state that is much less healthy than people used to be. Anyway, that's the future, isn't it?
Not.
Oh man. It's scary, some of the stuff that's coming out, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, there's a lot of topics in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
How long have you got?
Feel like they're all preachy, come on.
All right, well, that's good. We'll meet in a month, I reckon, and unpack all that stuff.
Great.
Well, thanks, Ali.
Hey.
I think it's also, I think that's something I'm looking forward to for this month is being accountable.
Yeah.
Because we can say things, and go, yeah, cool, I'm going to, or like, oh God, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try, But I think it's good to get a kick up the ass and to kind of be accountable for it. So,
Yeah, it is good.
Oh, and hey, there's next Wednesday, the 12th, is the Unwrapped tour.
Oh, yeah. The Food Garden are running a tour of Castlemaine called Unwrapped, and it's about plastic freeness. Yeah.
So they just around shops in Castlemaine?
Yeah, I think they're just showing people how to bulk buy,
Cool.
That's the sense I get. But it will be interesting to check in on what you can and can't bulk buy around here, And I'd like to get,
Get my stuff.
do you know, even toothpaste, how do you get that in a not plastic tube? I guess there could be metal tubes.
You can make your own.
You can make your own, yeah.
And also
Really
toothbrushes, even if you get a bamboo toothbrush, the bristles are plastic. And one of my challenges for myself this month is I really need a new toilet brush. And I'm like, all right, that's a challenge for plastic-free July. Can I get, even if you get wooden-handled or bamboo-handled ones.
Can you get metal with metal spikes?
Would that just tear your loo enamel?
Oh.
You could probably get
But there's coconut fibre scrubs for the kitchen are great to replace the steel wool. I wonder if there's an equivalent rough thing that's also soft. There might be bristle brushes, but are they bristle of hog hair bristle? Because that's a vegetarian question for me again. Like a conflict in my ethics.
Yeah, it's interesting that because even with the bulk buying thing, I'm quite more like I'd rather buy Australian than I would overseas.
Yeah.
Just because of...
But if all you can get is Vietnamese almonds, then maybe that's what you'll get.
No, I don't get them.
You just don't get them. Yeah.
What I think would be interesting is to go around and have a look at, okay, so what is the price you'd pay typically if you got it already packaged versus going and taking your own package for the same volume if you bought it in bulk.
Yeah.
Doing a little comparison list,
Yeah.
if people could see that and go,
Actually, it's cheaper in bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I wonder if we could come back with a couple of ideas.
Yeah.
Do some comparisons as we go. You could compare wine, Mel.
Oh no, I'm an alcoholic. It's just for my study.
I'm just
Just studying. Leave me alone.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in a month. Maybe see you before then, I hope.
Yeah.
But it'll be good. It'll be good to hear what was easy, what was hard, what was surprising. Like tissue boxes. You don't see that plastic until you take off that bit of cardboard.
It kind of makes me want to do go the whole hog.
Yeah.
To just go, oh man, just to really
notice. I think that's why I do want to go the whole hog because of that. And I'm just like, I want to notice. I want to see where all the plastic is. And you see those sort of YouTube videos of people who collect all their plastic for a year and they've got this tiny little bag and they're like, oh, I bought a tech thing and I had to have this thing. That's going to be my biggest fail because I want to buy some new microphones and some other stuff and I'm like, oh. And what about vitamins? Like vitamins always come in a plastic jar with a little sachet of moisture defeating stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like how do I...
Actually, that's true.
some jars are glass, but they're more, usually more expensive option.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Go to the health
sometimes
food shop.
still
And
even have plastic lids.
Yeah, that's true.
They do.
And if I promise myself to reuse that jar, am I just kidding myself? Because I am. I've kept those little reusable plastic vitamin jars and I was like, oh, you'll use them one time, I'll put paint in it and blah, blah, blah. And I never did. They sat there for years. And if they're sitting there for years in my drawer, that's not helping the environment any more than them sitting there for years in the landfill, which they eventually will go to.
Oh, no, Ali. Maybe.
Oh God, it doesn't bear thinking about.
No.
Because then I go, oh, and then we're just one little community and one little state and one little country, and then there's the whole world doing it.
Yeah.
One of my challenges, which I just realised I didn't say, is the family. But then it's like everyone have to kind of negotiate
true.
their little luxury things or their I find that really hard, particularly in relationship with my husband. It's you want that, and so then if I'm doing this challenge, are you part of that challenge? Well, it's coming into my house. It's really tricky.
Yeah,
That stuff.
I'm going away on Wednesday for a week to go stay with a really old friend and her family, and another friend's coming, and I kind of know that. I'm just.
You can't ring up and say, "Hey, we're plastic."
Yeah.
Well, you can't dictate to people, even in your own household. You can't dictate to your kids or your husband to never buy plastic again. No. You can encourage it, I guess.
And actually, the healthy way is to say, "Hey, you get whatever you want. Like that's totally fine. I'm not going to stop that or not eat it because you've bought it, but this is the choice I've made." And then it's like.
Do you feel like? Have you spoken to your husband about taking on the challenge?
Only briefly. He thinks it's great, to do this and for the awareness of our kids as well as, the environment.
Oh, it sounds like you might be behind it then and support it.
Yeah, it sort of depends on, what, how he's feeling in terms of like time and energy and money and blah, blah, blah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I've done like heaps of radical things in the past, and sometimes he's like, "Yeah, I'm all for it. It's really great." And
but then it's like,
there's this moment like, "What the? You've taken all the plastic out of."
I didn't know it was going to be like
containers
this.
out, like Tupperware containers. And it's like we've only got glass now.
Wow.
Although the plastic started creeping in again. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've got my plastic Tupperware. I'm not going to get rid of that, but I wouldn't buy it again.
Yeah.
And
that's it. I mean,
and a lot of the glass ones actually have plastic lids, or plastic seals around the lids. Or...
You need to do just put the beeswax thing.
Yeah.
My nana had this awesome enamel dish with the enamel lid, and I love it. Like you could get some glass ones like that had the glass lid.
Enamel's great because that's hardy. It won't shatter in the bag.
And it lasts.
Yeah, it goes on and on. I mean, she would have had that she's 95 now. She would have
Wow.
had that for like probably 60 years.
Oh,
or
how
more.
beautiful. And then
I know, I love it.
I know, it's really nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I've got some crockery and things from my grandmother, and she got it from someone else in the family, and has lasted all that time.
Yeah.
See, I think that's the benefit of talking about these things in a little group, is that you come up with ideas that you
That
want.
wine thing's seriously brilliant. Like,
Yeah,
that
I love
wasn't
that.
my idea. That was yours guys' idea.
No, but you said the keg. I think.
Oh, yeah.
We went in to talk about wine for some time, but I'm sure you don't need to hear all of that. So, after several false endings, that was actually the end of our conversation. Tune in on Monday the 30th at 9 a.m. to hear our end of challenge wrap up. Will Mel talk a local supplier into bringing in bulk wine? How will Rachel and her family cope with going plastic free? And will I be able to buy the tech I need without it being wrapped in plastic? And will I have to go vegan? On that note, I would like to let the vegan and animal rights listeners know that I do actually understand that no dairy is entirely cruelty-free. Even in the organic and free-range stuff, the system of removing babies from their mothers so that we can have her milk instead is deeply problematic on an ethical front, and not to mention what happens to the boy babies. I would also like to point out that since this conversation was recorded a week ago till now when it goes to air, I've seen some great solutions put forward on social media. For example, my dilemma about dog food seems solvable as local butchers will let you take your own container. So tune in on Monday the 30th to hear us talk about how we went this month in our Plastic Free July Challenge, and tune in next Monday at 9 a.m. on Main FM to hear me talk to Lucy Young about her ongoing campaign to make Castlemaine a plastic bag-free town.
Environment.
Change. You have been listening to An Environment for Change, an 8-part sustainability series made possible by a community grant from the Mount Alexander Shire Council. You can listen to this and other episodes of the series on the Main FM SoundCloud page. My name is Alison Hanley. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.